What happens when a lonely rancher knocks on a widow's door and says, "My daughter needs a mother"? A journey of hope, courage, and unexpected family begins, but a ruthless land developer threatens to destroy everything they've built. Will love and loyalty survive the fight? Like, subscribe and share to discover this unforgettable Wild West story. The rolling hills of Montana stretched endlessly beneath a wide blue sky, where golden fields met towering pine forests and snow-capped mountains stood proudly in the distance. Jacob Carter had lived on his family's ranch his entire life, but the place no longer felt as warm as it once had. 3 years earlier, he had buried his beloved wife after a sudden illness, leaving him alone to care for their 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Every sunrise brought another day of endless chores, and every sunset reminded him of the silence waiting inside the old ranch house. Although he never complained, the weight of loneliness had become heavier with each passing season. Jacob worked harder than anyone in the county. Before dawn, he was already feeding cattle, repairing fences, checking horses, and preparing supplies for the long day ahead. His hands were rough from years of honest labor, and the lines on his face revealed the sacrifices he had made for his family. Yet no matter how exhausted he became, he always found time to make breakfast for Lily before she left for the small country school. She was the reason he kept moving forward. Her cheerful smile gave him strength, even when his heart felt empty after another lonely day. Lily was a bright and gentle child who understood more than most adults realized. She missed her mother every single day, but rarely spoke about it because she didn't want to make her father sad. She carefully folded her own clothes, helped wash the dishes, and even tried cooking simple meals whenever Jacob returned late from the fields. Sometimes she would sit quietly on the porch, watching other families pass by together in wagons, wondering what it would feel like to have someone braid her hair, read bedtime stories, or simply hug her after a difficult day. Deep inside, she longed for the warmth that only a mother's love could bring. One afternoon, while delivering cattle to a neighboring ranch, Jacob overheard 2 elderly women talking outside the general store. They mentioned a widow named Emily Dawson, who had recently lost her husband and was struggling to keep her small farmhouse. Despite her hardships, everyone admired her honesty, kindness, and willingness to help others. She worked wherever she could, never asking for charity or sympathy. The conversation stayed in Jacob's mind throughout the journey home. For the first time in years, he wondered if there might be someone who needed a fresh start just as much as his family needed hope. Several days later, dark clouds gathered over the Montana Valley as a steady rain began to fall. Pulling on his weathered coat and old cowboy hat, Jacob saddled his trusted horse and rode toward Emily's farmhouse. The narrow dirt road was muddy, and cold winds swept across the open plains. But he continued, without hesitation. He wasn't searching for romance or looking to replace the woman he had loved. He simply believed that 2 broken families might help each other find a better future. Even so, he rehearsed his words repeatedly, uncertain how a complete stranger might react to such an unusual proposal. Emily Dawson heard a knock on the wooden door just as she finished stacking firewood beside the fireplace. Opening the door, she found a tall rancher standing quietly in the rain, respectfully holding his hat in both hands. His clothes were soaked, yet his calm expression carried honesty rather than pride. Jacob introduced himself politely before saying, "I was told you needed a hand, and my daughter needs a mother." The unexpected words caught Emily completely by surprise. She had expected someone asking for directions or offering temporary work, but never a request that touched both her future and her heart. Emily invited Jacob inside to escape the rain while she prepared fresh coffee. The farmhouse was small but tidy, reflecting the care she had taken despite living alone. As they talked, Jacob explained that he wasn't asking for marriage or making promises he couldn't keep. His ranch simply needed another pair of hands, and Lily deserved a home filled with kindness instead of constant loneliness. Emily listened carefully, without interrupting. She respected his honesty because he spoke without pretending life was easy. She admitted that after losing her husband, she'd struggled to find steady work and often wondered whether she would eventually lose her home as well. After a long silence, Emily finally smiled gently and agreed to help on the ranch for a few weeks. She made one condition perfectly clear. She wanted respect, not pity, and she intended to earn everything through hard work. Jacob nodded immediately, grateful for her trust. Together they loaded her few belongings onto his wagon before beginning the journey back across the rain-soaked Montana countryside. Neither of them noticed Lily watching excitedly from the ranch porch in the distance. None of the three could have imagined that this simple agreement, born from loneliness and hope, would soon become the beginning of a family that would change all of their lives forever. Emily settled into life at the Carter Ranch far more naturally than anyone had expected. Before sunrise each morning, she was already helping prepare breakfast before joining Jacob outside to begin the day's work. She repaired broken fences, organized the barn, cared for injured horses, and even found better ways to manage the household. The once quiet ranch slowly became filled with conversation and laughter again. Jacob noticed that every task seemed easier with Emily beside him. Her determination and positive spirit reminded him that even after great loss, people could still build something meaningful if they refused to give up. Lily's life changed the most. The shy little girl who had once spent evenings sitting alone on the porch now eagerly hurried home from school each afternoon. Emily patiently taught her how to bake fresh bread, sew simple clothes, and read classic adventure books beside the warm fireplace. They laughed together while preparing meals and spent evenings watching the colorful Montana sunsets from the front porch. For the first time since losing her mother, Lily felt safe enough to dream again. She quietly began calling Emily Miss Emily, with a warmth that hinted she already considered her part of the family. Jacob watched these changes with quiet gratitude. He admired Emily's honesty, strength, and gentle heart, but fear kept him from expressing what he truly felt. Losing his wife had taught him how quickly happiness could disappear, and he worried that opening his heart again might only bring more pain. Instead, he focused on working harder, believing actions mattered more than words. Emily noticed his kindness in small moments, how he always made sure she had the easier horse to ride, repaired anything she struggled with, and never forgot to thank her for every contribution she made. As the ranch prospered once again, word spread throughout the county that the Carter property was becoming one of the most successful family ranches in the region. Its healthy grazing land and dependable water supply soon attracted the attention of Victor Langford, a wealthy land developer determined to purchase neighboring properties for a massive commercial project. Confident that everyone had a price, Victor arrived at the ranch with expensive clothes, polished boots, and an offer worth more money than Jacob had ever imagined. He promised financial security and an easier life if Jacob agreed to sell the family land immediately. Jacob respectfully declined the offer without hesitation. The ranch represented generations of hard work, family memories, and promises made to his late father. Victor's smile quickly disappeared. Realizing money alone would not change Jacob's mind, he began using intimidation instead. Days later, Emily was approached while shopping in town. Victor warned her that she should leave the ranch before she became involved in problems that did not concern her. He hinted that life would become difficult if she remained beside Jacob. Though shaken by the encounter, Emily refused to allow fear to control her decisions. That evening, Emily told Jacob everything that had happened. Instead of encouraging her to leave for her own safety, Jacob apologized for placing her in danger and offered to help her find work elsewhere if she wished. Emily looked directly into his eyes and calmly refused. She reminded him that families stood together during difficult times, not only during peaceful ones. She believed the ranch deserved to remain in the hands of honest people